Hello, my name is Anneshia Freeman. I'm also known as the locksmith because I make keys for people who are locked up in their minds. First, before we start, I would like to take a moment to apologize for the quality of this video. I was playing with the software, trying to add enhancements and play with the brightness and contrast, and apparently I did something very bad and I don't know how to undo it. So, I'm going to upload this time-sensitive video with me moving and talking in slow motion, and I'll fix this, get the software fixed later. So I'm sitting here in my kitchen, which happens to be one of my workstations, and I decided to make another video. I say another video because I've already made several and uploaded them to my YouTube channel. Most of my other videos are based on different chapters in my book. This is my book entitled What's Really Going On, but that's not what I want to talk about today. Today I want to talk about a workbook that's being released. In fact, it's already at the printers. The pre-order button is already on my website, and it will be available. It will be back from the printers next week. April, the estimated pickup day is April the 25th, but it may be back sooner. So the name of the book, this workbook that I've created, is The 100 Most Commonly Seen Unconscious Lies. This is a hard copy proof that I had that my printer gave me to approve the cover, so that when it's made, it's actually going to be a workbook. In fact, the workbook will look similar to my other workbook. This is another workbook that I made entitled The Adult Reenactment of the Childhood Script. It's available. You can purchase it on my website, but I'm going to put a little note that it won't be available again until probably June of this year, because I'm going to revise it. So I'm not going to sell anymore. I just mailed a copy to someone today, and that's going to be the last copy I sell until June after I revise it. So I'll put that little note on my website. But I just showed you this because the new workbook that'll be out next week is actually made in the same manner, except it'll have this cover on it. So it'll actually have the same spiral bound, and this is the front cover of the new workbook, and this is the back of the new workbook. And it's entitled The 100 Most Commonly Seen Unconscious Lies and the Keys to the Locks. And it'll also be sold with a set of the 100 most commonly seen lies. This is a mock set. This is a prototype set of the cards because this is a new design for the cards. I've been making these cards for 10 years, but this is the prototype of the new design, and that's not the thickness. This is the thickness of the cards that'll be sold. So you'll receive 100 of those cards. So let me tell you a little bit about what it is and what's inside the workbook, because a lot of people don't have any idea what I'm talking about. So again, my name is Anneshia Freeman. I'm a master's level therapist. I'm also a certified alcohol and drug counselor, and I created my own cognitive restructuring and resocialization program that I've been using with court mandated clients and with private clients and the community. I have an adult and a youth program. And so over the years, part of my adult program this is the manual that I wrote for my adult program. This is a 410-page manual. So this is a very intensive program. It's a 12-week, 24-session cognitive restructuring and resocialization program. One of the components of this particular program is the formative years assessment. All of my program material is based on the findings of experts in the fields of neuroscience and psychology. So I did a lot of research years ago to discover why people, including myself, keep making the same self-defeating decisions despite the consequences. So based on the findings of experts in the fields of neuroscience and psychology, I created a lot of tools to help people reprogram their unconscious belief system. So one of the tools that I created was a formative years assessment. And over the past 10 years, I've performed over 300 of those assessments. So somewhere around assessment 200, I started noticing that I was making the same lie cards, because see, I code the assessment, and I introduce people to their invisible enemy. I introduce people to their unconscious belief system that's been wreaking havoc in their life, despite their desires to live a different type of life. And so once I do the assessment, I code people's belief system, and I put them on 4.5 by 6.5 cards. And so in the beginning, I was making these cards individually after each session, and printing them and laminating them and cutting them. I was doing a lot of work. And over the years, I started noticing that I was making the same cards over and over. Now, some people had different cards that you didn't see frequently, different issues, different dysfunctional beliefs, but a lot of people had the same cards. So I decided to make a list of the most commonly seen lies, the ones that kept showing up over and over again, and then I started having those mass produced. So people who go through my 12-week, 24-session program, they have their cards. We have like our own lingo, and people have come across a lot of my clients and saw their cards. And so people started asking me for the cards. They didn't necessarily want to go through the 24-session series, or they didn't have the time or the inclination to do so, but they wanted the cards. And I wouldn't give them I wouldn't just sell the cards, because that would have been unethical of me, because there's a certain amount of information you need so you don't become overwhelmed by the information. Because I tested that, my belief, my hypothesis. I had a particular person that kept asking me for some cards. So I gave this person one card, and I watched this person break down. I gave the issue card that I gave her was one of her issues that I had saw her operating out of, and she just broke down. And I was trying to tell her, while she was weeping and falling to the floor, that that's the reason why I won't just give you a stack or 60 or 70 of them, because the people in my 24-session group series, that information is strategically delivered to them. And I still have to help them with certain strategies so that they don't become overwhelmed by the amount of the information. Okay, even though it's not like I just gave them these issues, I just introduced them to the issues that's been controlling their life. But these are unconscious beliefs. These are unconscious dysfunctional thought process. And over the years, most of us have developed a lot of left brain confabulations, plausible but untrue reasons for why we do what we do. A lot of us have come up with a lot of coping skills, most of them dysfunctional, but they're still coping skills. So when you come to my program, I'm asking you to give those up. But they taught me, when I was training to be a certified alcohol and drug counselor, one of my trainers told me, you should never ask a person to give up a tool, even if that tool is dysfunctional, if you're not going to replace it with another tool. So when people come through my program, after we do the formative years assessment, I code it and I give them their unconscious belief system with a dysfunctional belief on the front and the functional belief on the back. And so this particular workbook, I started writing a workbook because people kept asking me for the cards. I've even had clients who said people have stole their card. I've had clients call me saying, my so-and-so in my family took my cards. I'm like, well, you better go get them, because I'm not giving you another one. So anyway, I said, okay, well, I'm going to write a workbook. So I started in 2011 writing this workbook. Hey, it is now April of 2014, and I've just come to the point where I feel secure with the amount of information that I have in this workbook to release this workbook with the cards to the public. Okay, well, I was it was done last year, but I had to have it edited a few times, and I had to get my copyright registration numbers back. So the name of my program is The Lies That Bind. It's also referred to as The Lies That Bind, The Legacy of the Locks. And both of those names are registered trademarks that I own. And all of my material is protected by 7 copyrights. 2 trademarks, 7 copyrights. And there's a law firm that manages my intellectual property in case I have to send people cease and desist letters, which I've had to do before. Okay, for trying to make copies of my stuff without my permission. Okay, so let me tell you real quickly. I just made this video to tell you about the workbook that you can now pre-order on my website, the 100 Most Commonly Seen Unconscious Lies, which will be sold with 100 of these cards. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's in the workbook. Now it's $99.99 plus shipping and handling, so $100 plus shipping and handling, which comes to under $1 per card if you consider the workbook, because you're getting a 152-page workbook with a lot of phenomenal information, and you get a set of the 100 most commonly seen unconscious lies. And even if you don't have all 100, which I do, well, I have 99 of those, then I have a lot of specific lies that are not in the commonly seen stack. But even if you don't have all 100, it's good to have that stack so that you can recognize these issues in other people. And we use the term lie, dysfunctional belief, and issue interchangeably in our program, and it's used in my manual. Those words are used interchangeably in my manual, in my workbook. So let me go over the table of contents of this workbook with you. It starts with the introduction chapter. So I tell you so that you would understand that this is only one component of this intensive program. See, this is the intensive program. So the workbook, because this is the hard copy proof of the workbook, that is, they say that's 152 pages. So these cards are only one component of that of my program. So I don't want you to think the cards are actually the program. And then I talk about the program development history, my qualifications. I'll let you know that I'm a master's level clinician, certified alcohol and drug counselor, but I'm also a person in recovery from drugs and alcohol and a lot of dysfunctional lifestyles. So I actually have the years of active addiction on my resume as a 15-year participant observation exploratory ethnographic research project of several inner city subcultures, because that's what it was research, because I wasn't born and raised in those subcultures that I frequented when I had a chemical dependency issue, but I quickly learned to navigate those environments. So I had a basic comparison that people who were born and raised in that environment, I had a basic comparison. So it became like research to me. So I talk about that in the manual. And then there's a chapter that talks about the 100 most commonly seen lies history, how I came up with the list and with the cards. And I talk about lie hierarchy, because everyone's stack of issues has a different hierarchy from most troublesome issue to least troublesome issue. And then there's an overview of Dr. Joseph's book. Dr. Joseph is one of the experts, the noted experts, whose findings that I use to create my tools, that I base my tools on. And I paid the Copyright Clearance Center, who manages the reprint permission rights for Perseus Books, who owns the copyright for Dr. Joseph, owns the reprint rights for Dr. Joseph's book. So I paid to put some of his information in my workbook. So there's 10 pages that summarizes what this doctor says about the unconscious mind, your belief system, how your unconscious mind is programmed during the formative years, and how that programming, that information, that belief system affects your decision making as an adult. So I don't want you to think this was Annesia's brilliant ideal and there's no sound scientific research behind it. There is. and I put it in my workbook. Okay, so after we go over Dr. Joseph's finding, then I have a chapter on the entitled the implantation of lies during the formative years. So I give examples of how children have been mistreated and how they've observed dysfunctional behavior, because those are the two main ways. There's other methods of transmission, but those are the two main ways that belief systems are transmitted during the formative years, by what you observe and how you're treated. So I give examples, and I give the exact dysfunctional belief that was communicated that was communicated to children based on how they were treated and what they observed. And then we go over, then the rest of, there's a section that goes over the card that lets you know what each component on the card is. And it gives you several examples of the components on the card. So each card has the areas of your life that the dysfunctional belief impacts or affects. It has the feelings that you experience when the issue or the belief system is activated. Like, say I have an issue that says people are only tolerating me. I would have gotten that, and I do have that issue. So I got it in my childhood by being around people who acted as if everything I did was annoying, or or they acted irritated by my presence. So I experienced that on a regular basis. So that's one of my issues. And so the issue would be people are only tolerating you, and it has the feelings that you experience when that issue is activated, when you're around someone who's acting as if you're getting on their nerves or they don't want to be bothered with you. And then I also have the clues. Each card has a verbal or nonverbal clue. A few of them have both, that you give to people to let people know that you have this issue. Because these cards are actually what we call our buttons. You know, people say, you're pushing my button. Well, you read this book, you'll find my workbook, you'll find out exactly what your buttons are, and you'll find out what each button makes you do. Okay, so you tell people that you have these issues. So I put verbal and nonverbal clues, and each issue has two types of cast members: people who validate the dysfunctional belief by how they treat you, and people who normalize the dysfunctional belief because the behaviors associated with the dysfunctional belief, because they suffer with the same issue. They have the same issue. So I talk about that. All those are on the card, and I give various examples. It's not just us run. It's 152 pages. So I give you a lot of, you're looking at like 10 years of research and experience with this cards. And that's why it took me a couple years to write this workbook. And then I go over my copyrights and trademark notifications, which are on each card. And I forgot to bring my suit. I usually show people the suit that I sue people in who try to violate my copyrights and trademarks. And guess what? It's the same suit I sue the saints in, because I will sue the Christian people, because I'm a Christian too, and I'm an evangelist. And for some strange reason, sometimes Christian folks feel they can do unethical stuff, and you won't sue them. I'll sue a Christian. I'll sue people in my family. It's my intellectual property. Okay, so, and then it goes to the back of the card. So after the sections on the front with various examples, then we go over the back, because the back of the card has the areas of your life that the positive belief, the life enhancing belief, or what we call the truth, impacts. And guess what? It's the same area of your life that the lie impacts. And then there's a paragraph that negates the lie, that challenges the lie. And because these issues are so, I'm trying to think of a good word for it, and I can't right now. They're so strategic. They're so complex. Okay, these are some complex issues. So to challenge the belief, you have to come at it 4 or 5 different ways. So that's what I do. Because, like, say for instance, you have the issue, people are only tolerating you. The job of the lie is to prove itself true. Now, I know that's an oxymoron, but that's the job of the lie, and it will elicit your help. And so if you have an issue that says people are only tolerating you, that issue will cause you to put yourself around easily agitated and easily irritated, impatient people so they can act like you're getting on their nerves, because everybody gets on their nerves. Everything gets on their nerves. So it'll cause you to surround yourself with those so that you can experience the activation. Or that lie will make you do irritating, annoying things so people can act annoyed and irritated. Or, and sometimes it'll just make you take people's behavior personally that has nothing to do with you. Someone might just be having a hard day and just don't want to be bothered, but the lie will tell you it has something to do with you. Then it'll suggest that you ask them what's wrong 17 times until you do actually start getting annoying them, until they do actually start acting as if they're only tolerating you. Because by the 17th time you ask me, are you okay? Is it something wrong? Is it me? Yeah, by now it is you. Okay. And so I have to address also, I try to address all of the different ways, and I think I do a good job on each card, all of the different ways that issue can affect you, and how to change your thinking as it relates to that. And the back of the card also has the clues that you give to people that you have a healthy thought process. Because see, whether you're giving out positive or negative verbal and nonverbal clues to other people as to how your mind operates, you're either repelling healthy people, repelling healthy people. If you're giving off clues from the lie, from the dysfunctional belief, you're repelling healthy people and attracting dysfunctional people. But if you're giving off clues that you have this healthy mindset, then you are repelling dysfunctional people and you're attracting healthy people. Birds of a feather, they flock together. Okay. And so after we cover the front and the back of the card, which is a great portion of the book with lots of different examples, then we get to a section. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to tell you about one of the sections. There's a few sections that I cover in that workbook that's not on the card. You know, I didn't only had so much. You only have so much room on a 4.5 by 6.5 card. So there's some information that I thought it was very important for you to have that wasn't on the card, which is left brain confabulations, the lies that protect the lie. So Dr. Smith, he's another Christian psychologist. I don't quote him in this particular workbook, but I read a lot of his work. He says that he calls them guardian lies. These are lies that protect the real lie. And Dr. Joseph calls them left brain confabulations, the lies that lie about the lie. So if I have an issue that says, one of my issues, say my issue is you have to compensate for your presence with goods and services. This particular issue makes me pay people to allow me to exist in their presence. And a lot of us who have that issue, you know, I made a lot of progress. I don't struggle with that one. Most of my issues that I still struggle with now are perfectionism, performance issues. I've made a lot of progress with the other ones. But on any given day, all of them can get activated. So you have to compensate for your presence with goods and services. That particular issue, the left brain confabulation for that issue is, I'm just too nice and people keep taking advantage of me. No, you have a dysfunctional belief system that tells you that there's something wrong with you, and that because of this unmentionable defect, you need to pay people to allow you to exist in their presence. That's what's going on, because I know a lot of people who don't get taken advantage of on a regular, consistent basis. I don't think there is such a thing as being too nice. I think there's such a thing as having a lot of issues and being naive, you know, but not too nice. Because I know a lot of nice people who would tell you, no. They tell manipulators, no. They don't struggle. You know, they'll say it nice. No. You know, have a nice day. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you that. Have a nice day. Here's a daisy. But they don't get taken advantage of, okay, just because they're nice. So that's the left brain. I'll talk about left brain confabulations, and I give several examples of the lies that lie about the lie. And then there's a section on lie activation. And there's a lot of material in the workbook about how these lies get activated. What type of stimuli activates these lies, and once they're activated, what do they make you do? I talk about what they make you do, and I've given a lot of real life examples that I'm sure people can relate to. Okay, and then I have a section called flipping the issues, when the victim becomes the villain. Because if a child is raised in an environment where they're being mistreated in any type of way, they're not only internalizing the belief system based on how they're being treated, but they're internalizing a belief system based on what they are observing. So they're observing the people who are mistreating them. There's victim issues and villain issues, victim lies and villain lies. And so I talk about that in a section, because see, if you have an issue that says people have a right to take their frustrations out on you, you also have an issue that says you have the right to take your frustrations out on others. In fact, that's how these issues get passed from generation to generation, okay, when we flip them. All right, so I talk about flipping the issues when the victim becomes the villain. And then the next section is about the back of the card, and it has the exact same sections, except it's talking about the back of the cards, the feelings that are experienced when you operate in the truth, clues, the positive cast members, things of that nature, and flipping the truth. Because just like you can flip a lie, you can flip a truth onto the people in the next generation. So then there's a section in this workbook on lie combinations, because all of these issues work together. There's no one issue that just usually works by itself. There may be a main lie or issue involved in a situation, but trust me, they have some collaborating partners. And so I talk about lies that work together, that were transmitted at different times in a person's life, lies that work together that were transmitted in different contexts, and then I give a lot of lie combination examples, real everyday situations, and the lies that support what happens in these situations. And then there's a section on that talks about how people's lies collaborate with other people's lies. Okay, so for example, if there's a particular person that suffers with the issue, you have to assume the responsibilities of others. They usually find themselves in relationships with people who have the issue, expect others to do for you what you will not do for yourself. And so though I talk about those types of collaborations between people, I also give examples of lie collaborations between service providers and their clients, a teacher and a student, a lot of different examples, and I use different lies in each collaboration example. And then we go to the third section of the workbook. So there's three sections: the card section, the section that breaks down all the information on the front and the back of the cards with lots of examples. The second section is about lie combinations, how they work, how the lies work together. And then the third section is how to use your cards. So the first part of that section is the adjustment process, because people the alumni, and it's over 300 people who have been through my adult program. I haven't even counted how many youth have been through my youth program. But the adjustment process, we've done the hard work. And so what I do in this section is try to give you some tools and examples of what you're going to experience, some tools to help you get through each adjustment phase quicker. Okay, and strategies that we learned the hard way, so you don't have to. Okay, because first, usually when people get their cards in my program, they're like, wow, they're overjoyed. Oh my goodness, I've been struggling with all of these issues all of these years, and finally I have in front of me this invisible enemy. The invisible enemy has been made visible. I can fight it. And then they go from overjoyed to overwhelmed. This is a lot of stuff. These are a lot of cards, and they all work together. They can work in this combination. They can work in this combination. They can hit me like this. They make me do this. So and then people go from overjoyed, from overwhelmed to devastated, because then they start realizing how much these issues have cost them, and how different their life would look if they had this information a long time ago. Then a lot of people go from devastated to angry, because they're angry. And I gave examples of all of the different people and institutions that you can be angry at once you start making, looking at how these issues have impacted your life. But like I said, I give you strategies on how to get through each phase a lot quicker than us earlier members of the program, because I'm my first client. I'm the creator and the client, okay? The first client. I'm the first success story of the lives that mine. And so I give you strategies to help you heal and get quicker go to, because the goal is to get to the internalization process, internalizing the back of the cards, and you can get there. I've got there with most of mine. The only ones that I really still suffer with or that still challenge me fairly regularly is my top 10 cards, but those are my trump cards. And there's a little section in the workbook where I talk about high issue hierarchy and how your trump cards, how powerful they are. And so you got to do some work on to get those totally reprogrammed. But so then we go from angry to paranoid, because then you start thinking everybody's trying to push your button, and you start taking little innocent. Somebody say good morning. What you mean by good morning? Yeah, what are you trying to say? Yeah, you're trying to activate this card? Okay, I'm being a little facetious, but not much. Okay, and so from paranoid to appearing schizophrenic. And I talk about how you're wrestling between the lie and the truth. So one minute you're acting out of the truth, the next minute you're obeying a lie, then you're obeying a lie, and you may obey the truth on this card, but you're obeying a lie on this one. So people are like, what's wrong with you? You're acting very strange. And somebody might call you and push a bunch of buttons and ask you to do something that you really don't want to do. And you might say, okay, I'll do it. And then as soon as you hang up, you read your cards and then you call them back and like, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Click. And then you think for a few minutes and call them back and be like, and let me tell you something. Let me tell you about all of the other times you'd have taken advantage of me. And then you hang up. Then you call them back and be like, I'm sorry. It's not your fault. You didn't make me do it. So I talk about all of those different things. We've all the alumni, we've gone through all those different stages. And so then, but here's the beauty. When you go from appearing schizophrenic to internalizing and living in the functional, healthy belief. Okay, so and then there's some worksheets. I have some worksheets in the book, and this workbook, the one that I'm telling you about, it has the same type of CD in the back that my other workbook does. There's a CD in the back that has PDFs, blank PDFs of all of the worksheets that's in the workbook. This is the other workbook, but it's made the same way with blank worksheets that you can print over and over and over again. And so there's a worksheet entitled Getting to Know Your Issues. There's a worksheet entitled and a section that talks about how to get to know your cards. Then there's a section called Using your Cards Defensively. Okay, that's the main way you're going to use them in the beginning, after you obeyed them. Okay, this is some automatic stuff. And so after you obeyed them, you can sit down and process, okay, why did I do that again? All right, and each worksheet has a completed example. If I will walk you through the worksheet with an example, and then there's a blank one in the workbook, and then you have the CD with all of the blank PDFs, so you can print them as many times as you desire. Then there's a worksheet entitled Processing Situations Through the Cards, and it helps you. You can, on the front of the worksheet, you'll process the situation through the lie, and then on the back, we're going to process that situation through the truth. And so that worksheet, and I put 2 examples of that worksheet in there because some of the examples will help you in relationships, with your personal relationships. Some of the examples that I use will help you on your job, because these issues affect the way you work. Your work, your interactions with clients, with customers, with co-workers, with your supervisor, with administration, with vendors. Okay, and then there's a section called Clicking Undo. It doesn't have a worksheet. Maybe I'll come up with one, but you don't really need one to use that strategy. So, and I got that from, when you're using a lot of word processors, if you make a mistake, you can click undo it and undo that last action, or that last action you took. And so I talk about that. I turn that into a strategy as you're struggling with these cards. And so then there's a section on offensively using your cards. It's not like if I get activated today. It's when I get activated. So this will help you prepare for certain situations where you know there's going to be a lot of activation stimuli, and so that you'll go in offensively. And so there's an example of that in a blank worksheet. Then there's a section about how to list your card in hierarchy, because everyone's issue hierarchy is different. And so I had a client, so we've always known that each person has issues, stack of issues had a hierarchy. But one of my clients, she started the process and everyone else just picked up on it. She laid all of her cards out, and she had a lot of them. And she laid all of her cards out and took the time to put them in the order from the ones that troubled her the most to the ones that troubled her the least. And she numbered them. And she started coming to group saying, I had a 7, 9, 12 this morning. And we were like, not the 7, 9, 12. We had no idea what the 7, 9, 12 was, but it sounded ominous. And what would have been tragic, which what it would have been an emergency, was if she had came to group and said, I had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that is a problem. Okay, so we talk about, so there's a section on how to do that, use that strategy. And then there's a feelings list, a list of positive and negative feeling words, a list, and there's a personality characteristic chart, because all of these are charts, and this list and the chart you use filling out the worksheets. And that's the workbook. And like I said, it comes with 100 of these cards. And so this workbook is available. You can pre-order it. People have already started pre-ordering it on my website, Anneshia.consulting.com. Anneshia is spelled Anneshia. Anneshia Consulting, Anneshia.consulting.com, and you just go to my store and you can pre-order it. Like I said, it's $99.99, so $100. Why do we do that? Why do we do the $99.99 thing? They taught me that in school. It still doesn't make any sense, but I do it. So it's $100, which is a little less than $1 a card. Don't let the price frighten you, because see, one of these issues can cost you hundreds of dollars a month. Okay, in my 12-week program, one of our worksheets we do is called My Issues Make My Budget and My Schedule. And on that worksheet, we list the lie, the issue, we list some of the directives of the lie, the things that the lie make us do. And then we list how much time we spend doing it. And then we list how much money it costs us. So each one of these issues can cost you, like say you have the issue, protect others at your expense. Do you know how much money that can cost you in a year? You know how much time and energy you lose with that issue? Say you had an issue that says you have to assume the responsibilities of others. Do you know how much money you can spend obeying that issue? So, honey, $99.99 is a bargain. And there's a PayPal. You pay through PayPal. So PayPal also has a pay later option, where they'll pay if you qualify. It doesn't take much to qualify for them. They give you different amounts of credit, ability spending limit or credit limit, and $99, you have 6 months to pay. It's bill me later through PayPal. You have 6 months to pay that bill with no interest. So if you don't have $100, use the bill me later feature and pay them off in 6 months, and you don't have to pay any interest. You can pay them off, in a year, but you have to pay interest after 6 months. So that's my new workbook, the 100 Most Commonly Seen Unconscious Lies. This is the cover of the workbook. This is the back. This is the hard proof. They're at the printer. That's why I don't have the actual one in my hand right now. They're at the printer, and I'll pick them up next week. I'm so excited. And the cards, you get 100 cards. I think I'll read one. I'll end this video. I've been on this video like 38 minutes. Oh my goodness. Well, maybe I'll read. I'll end. It's 38 minutes. Might as well do another 2 minutes. So I'll read the issue, the card, protect others at your expense. This particular issue affects your relationship with others, and it affects your relationship with yourself. And when this issue is activated, it produces feelings such as regretful, trapped, provoked, bitter, degraded, anxious, unimportant, torn. And the clues that you give, one of the clues that you give to tell people that you have this issue is bragging how you took the fall for someone else. Okay? And then it talks about the 2 types of cast members. I won't read those right now, just to save some time on this video. The back of the card says, I will no longer protect others while I suffer. If people make bad choices, then they need to learn from the logical consequences of their actions. I am doing them a great disservice by cushioning their fall. I am also doing myself a great disservice by making the well-being of others my main concern. Consequences are often the only motivator for change that some people will ever have. And if they never have to face them because I am playing superhero, then they will continue to repeat the same behaviors. If I continue to absorb their consequences, then I will continue to suffer and bear my martyr's cross. The dictionary defines martyr as a great and constant sufferer. I'll pass on that. This is the only life I have, and I refuse to forfeit my happiness reaping what others have sown. Pretty good, huh? And the clues that you give to people that you have this healthy thought process is discussing how you protect and value yourself. So again, my workbook is available. You can pre-order on AnnesiaConsulting.com. Thank you.